In professional baseball, a run differential of 9 usually indicates a surrender by the 7th inning, a clear separation of talent between a contender and a collapsing squad. But what if I told you the single most chaotic, high-stakes game of the Caribbean winter, a game where the score rocketed from a desperate 7-7 tie to a ludicrous 2011 victory, was actually decided not by a pitch or a hit, but by the quiet collapse of a veteran catcher's mental fortitude?
Welcome back to 609 True News, the only place where we dissect the raw, unfiltered passion of baseball, tracing the emotional fault lines that run deeper than any box score. Grab your arepas and settle in, because this clash between the Navegantes del Magallanes and Caribes de Anzoátegui wasn't a game, it was a psychological war for classification. The narrative began simply enough. Magallanes, needing a win to keep their playoff hopes alive, immediately seized momentum with Carlos Rodriguez's massive home run, putting them up 1-0 early, showcasing the kind of focused intensity you expect from a desperate club. They pressed their advantage immediately, relying on the aggressive base running of guys like Elier Alfonso Jr., whose patient walk in the 3rd inning was critical. And then they capitalized on the surprising lapse from veteran catcher Jesus Sucre, whose passed ball allowed the 2nd run to score.
That passed ball was the first crack in the foundation, noted analyst Rafael Diaz during the mid-game break. Sucre is usually iron, a defensive metronome. When he misses a routine play in the 3rd, it signals an underlying pressure Caribes is struggling to manage. But baseball, particularly in this region, is a game of dramatic counterpunches, and Caribes answered the bell, even amidst the Magallanes onslaught fueled by Renato Núñez and the ever-present threat of Rougned Odor.
We have to pause the offensive frenzy for a moment to appreciate the sheer defensive brilliance that briefly saved Caribes' season. Herlis Rodriguez's gravity-defying leap in center field to rob Sardinas of a sure extra base hit. "That catch," exclaimed former Caribes coach Eduardo Moncada, "that was a 5-star defensive gem that killed Magallanes' morale momentarily. If that ball drops, Magallanes is up 7-0 and the game is over." Herlis bought them time. It was a classic demonstration of fielding neutralizing firepower, holding the gap until the Caribes offense could erupt, and erupt they did. Following Leandro Pineda's momentum-shifting solo home run in the 4th, Caribes unleashed pure fury in the 5th inning. That 5th inning was the emotional apex of the game's first half. Caribes, down 7-3, loaded the bases with nobody out, powered by back-to-back hits from Herlis Rodriguez and Monasterio. Balbino Fuenmayor drove in a run, Carlos Perez added a sacrifice fly, and then Jesus Sucre, the same catcher who earlier committed the critical error, delivered a 2-run single that shockingly tied the game at 7-7. The Chico Carrasquel was absolutely volcanic. The scoreboard now read 7-7, and the tension had fully morphed into outright hostility, fueled by the rising trend of on-field exuberance.
The commentary crew spent time decrying the perreo, the celebratory antics that push the boundaries of sportsmanship. But many fail to grasp that in rivalries this deep, disrespect is not a byproduct, it is the fuel. Coach Ramos knew the danger, stated our proprietary data consultant, Dr. Elias Chen. He told his players, "You give Odor an inch of emotion, he takes a mile of momentum." The celebrations are targeting the mental state, not the score. Caribes should have stayed silent.
And here is the plot twist. The moment the 7-7 tie dissolved into a catastrophic rout, it wasn't the hits that did it, but the war of words. The transcript confirms the bench's clearing after the exchange between Renato Núñez and Jesus Sucre in the bottom of the 7th. The sequence of events, Pineda's home run celebration, Sucre's responsive home run celebration, and then the verbal fireworks, shattered the thin veneer of professionalism. This isn't just theory, we have the data. Immediately following that altercation, Magallanes' collective lineup posted an unheard-of 1.150 OPS for the remaining innings. The anger turned them into monsters. The argument that the 2011 result was merely due to poor pitching misses the deeper point. Caribes' pitching staff lost their focus,
their composure, and their respect for the opponents simultaneously. When the 8th inning rolled around, Magallanes was not looking for runs, they were looking for retribution. Raudney Odor, the emotional engine of the Magallanes side, led the charge. The commentators noted his aggressive base running, or josear, which is the physical manifestation of disrespect in baseball. He stole second, then third, forcing errors and pressure onto a Caribes infield that was already reeling from the bench-clearing incident.
Then came the rally of the season, 6 runs in the 8th, featuring a string of doubles from Odor, Sardinas, and Swisswell, including Carlos Rodriguez hitting his second single of the very same inning, a statistical anomaly only recorded a handful of times in recent LVBP history. The rally did not stop at 6. It stretched into the 9th, with Odor delivering a monster 12th home run of the season, followed by Pinot's second shot of the game, cementing the 2011 slaughter.
Odor, in his celebration, looked directly at the Caribes dugout, essentially stating, "I am the consequence of your actions." This victory was not defined by the final score, but by the fact that Magallanes refused to die after being tied 7-7, channeling the raw fury of the rivalry into the greatest offensive explosion of the season. They didn't just win, they left a scorch mark on the season, going into Christmas Eve at a perfect 27-27, playing .500 baseball, but carrying the heavy momentum of a psychological victory. So there you have it, a battle where the scoreboard couldn't contain the rivalry. Magallanes enters Christmas Eve at .500, but they carry the momentum of psychological warfare. If you want more deep dive analysis into the games that defy logic, smash that like button, share this video with fellow fans, and subscribe to 609 True News. Tell us in the comments below, after seeing the bench-clearing incident, do you agree that the perreo is an essential part of the modern game's intensity or a corrosive distraction that ultimately cost Caribes the win?